This is a Nipkow disc, and it has a series of holes drilled in the disc. This is hard to, I don't know if we can see that on the camera or not, but the series of holes, each in a little different location, when spinning in front of the light source, forms what we would call today the raster, or the area where the picture is going to show. This is really coming up to speed. If you look straight in, you will see a picture of the it's 1927. So in 1927, the big news was the Lindbergh flight. So there is a picture of the Spirit of St. Louis in flight. So this demonstrates what the what the picture would look like. So just remember this switch turns the motor on. This controls the speed of the motor, and this switch turns the lamp on and off. The lamp can actually stay on all the time; it doesn't matter. A little background here. This set was built by Gordon Brown, who's the founder of WSAY Radio here in Rochester, and this was one of his early experiments with television here. This is called a Pilot brand name. It was a little 2.5-inch electronic set. Again, 1949. The goal of this company was to come out with a $99 TV set for Christmas of 1949. And they did. That's exactly when it came out, and they made their goal, and they sold quite a few of these sets for $99. Small picture, it was nice and sharp, good contrast, but obviously you had a little trouble with having very many people looking at it. So you could go to the store and buy an accessory, which was a fluid-filled magnifying glass. Put that in front of the screen, and voila, now you had a 5-inch set. So you were now the envy of the neighborhood with a big set. I think you can see, however, you might want to point out is that in order to watch the set, you had to be directly in front of it. Otherwise, the distortion caused by the curve here was too great. But nonetheless, they sold a lot of these magnifiers back in the early days of electronic TV. This is another Jenkins set, another mechanical set with another Nipkow disc rotating in front of the light source. The light source, of course, is turning on and off at the video rate, causing you to have a picture. This has a mirror in it, so the light went through the disc onto the mirror and then would show up in the front of the screen. So this was a very, very modern looking early 1930s television. Very, very unusual. Okay, finishing the television area. There's a couple areas in the corner here we'll touch upon. One, of course, is the Edwin Howard Armstrong corner. Armstrong is one of the heroes of early communications development. He invented 3 major inventions that led to the improvement of the art. The first was regeneration, which allowed the regenerative detector to come on the market. This greatly improved the sensitivity of radios over crystal sets and simple tube type detectors. And then during the World War I time frame, he also came up with the second major improvement, and that was the superhet receiver, the super heterodyne. And that, of course, is a technique of receiving that we still use today. And his third major contribution was FM, or frequency modulation. So Again, we recognize Armstrong for those major developments. Up on the wall, we have an original oil painting of Edwin Armstrong and his lifelong friend, companion, and lab assistant, Mr. Harry Houck. Harry Houck was, again, a very good employee, except he did not follow directions very well. Typical of that period when you were finished with something in the lab, you would reuse equipment over and over again because it was frightfully expensive and hard to find electronic components. So Armstrong would tell his friend and companion Harry Houck to, just take all this stuff apart, get rid of it, and we'll move on. Well, he didn't do that. He took very historic artifacts and he stored them away, literally put them in a barn. So after Howard Armstrong met a untimely death, sad story actually, that you might want to study on the internet sometime. But Harry Houck was starting to get a little along in years, and he realized that he had all this wonderful, wonderful equipment, and decided wondering what to do with it. So he looked around for someone who would put it to good use, and he found the AWA Museum. The items that Harry Houck donated to the museum was this wonderful, wonderful first regenerative receiver using a DeForest spherical audion, by the way, itself a very rare item. His second major invention was a superhet receiver, and here on the top shelf is the IF amplifier that was used in that first superhet receiver. And then the third major contribution was FM, and here is the portion of the FM transmitter that was used at the Empire State Building to do on-air testing of FM and its capabilities. So very, very historical item that we're very pleased to have in the AWA Museum. Let's take a look at the telephone exhibit. Telephone, of course, was again a major part of electronic communication. So there's just a wide variety of different telephone apparatus here. This is an interesting one. It's the Vista phone, one of the many, many iterations of picture telephones of the 60s and 70s era. The technology was always pretty good to have these items, but the public has never accepted picture telephones. So this, becomes an interesting historical piece. This gentleman, by the way, in the picture we have set up here, is Bruce Kelly. Bruce Kelly was one of the 4 founders of the AWA Museum. So we put Bruce in there. He's always looking over the museum. This is the earliest telephone piece we have represented. This is 1877, and this is the first consumer telephone. There were 2 of these, so there's just a battery and 2 phones. There are no bells, no operators. So when you wanted to communicate with the other person who had a telephone, you would literally have to say, "I'll talk to you at 6 o'clock." And so by some pre-arrangement, at 6 o'clock, you would stick your ear in this hole here and listen. And the other person would say at 6 o'clock, "Ahoy, ahoy!" And why it's ahoy, I'm not sure, but it's probably left over from naval days or something when you were hailing a ship. So then you would just talk back and forth, not at all unlike a paper cup and a string. And it probably didn't work much better, but it is the first, 1877.